from Los Angeles, it's the Tom Leykis Show.
Huh?
And now, here he is, Tom Leykis.
Thank you for tuning into the Tom Leykis Show. This is where America gets together to talk about the issues you really care about. It's a different kind of a radio talk program. We're the radio talk show that is not hosted by a right-wing wacko or a convicted felon. No. I am your host. Write down our toll-free telephone number. You're going to need it. It's 1-800-5800-TOM. 1-800-5800-866. Thank you for tuning in. We had to go all the way across the ocean to find this story. Actually, we didn't have to swim or anything. We went to a website for the BBC. And one of the BBC radio networks produced, I guess, a little mini documentary. They're still doing that kind of thing in England. You know, isn't that quaint? Radio doing little documentaries. Isn't that quaint? Like the old days. So old school. Like anybody has the patience to listen to the radio and listen to a documentary anymore. Anyway, they produced a little mini documentary. It's called The Women Who Live a Lie. And then they have this little story on the BBC News website to accompany the radio special. And I'm going to read it to you right now. The story is called, Who's the Daddy? When Tessa found out she was pregnant after fertility treatment, she felt a mix of delight and doubt. This wasn't simply pre-baby nerves. She suspected that her husband might not be the father. For Tessa had started sleeping with a colleague when the stress of the ongoing treatment became too much. Already you can tell by the verbiage here that the person who wrote this story for the website empathizes. Well, of course, if you're feeling stress in your marriage, of course you'd have an affair with a co-worker. Of course you would. You're stressed out. You're a woman. You get stressed out. You need to sleep with other people. That's the way it is. The story continues. This is about Tessa. Keen to build a family with her husband, she let him believe the baby was his. But her lover threatened to reveal all if she ended the affair. And Tessa soon fell pregnant again. This time her lover started to make nuisance calls to her home. Tessa had no choice but to tell her husband. Here's Tessa's quote. She says,
I said to him, I've had an affair, and you may not be the father of my children. So with that, he went up the stairs, got dressed, and left, and that was it.
That's what Tessa said. After a paternity test determined that her husband hadn't fathered either child, he broke off all contact. I kept this a secret because I thought that my worst nightmare would come true, that the family would be split, which it has been, Tessa says. Her children, now 5 and 6, never see the man they first knew as Dad. Tessa is far from alone in trying to keep this painful secret, and advances in DNA testing mean that women may find it more difficult to maintain the lie. Estimates suggest that 5% of the population may have a different father to the one they think they are related to, says Professor John Byrne of the Institute of Human Genetics in Newcastle. He runs one of the UK's few paternity testing services, which carries out about 300 DNA tests a year. A third of results surprise those involved. But men should be cautious about trying to prove their suspicions, he says, for the truth is often unkind. Oh, yeah. Don't bother to get that test. You just take your wife's word for it that you're the father, okay? Because you may not want to know the truth. There is a genuine Pandora's box on these sort of tests, that once you've opened the lid, you cannot close it again. Once you know this, you cannot unknow it. You must ask yourself, if the result goes the way I'm not expecting, can I cope with that? To be suddenly told or to have a child told that the person they thought was a parent isn't can have profound implications on their perception of who they are. And if people have an established family relationship, these tests could sever it forever. I want to issue a challenge to our listeners that it'll take some time to get the results on, but, I'm a patient guy. Here's what I want you to do, boys. I want you to get a DNA sample from any one or all of your kids and get a DNA test. You don't have to tell your wife that you're doing it. You don't have to tell your girlfriend that you're doing it. Just do it. And one of these days soon, let me know what the results were, will you? In the United States, estimates are that 30% of all children born do not have the fathers they think they have. 30%. I'm encouraging you to do that. Get a DNA test. The story on the BBC News website continues. It says here, for years, Angela lived in fear of just such fallout. For her youngest daughter, Sally, now 17, is the product of an affair she had for several years. Angela told no one but two close friends and felt so guilty, her marriage eventually broke down. Should have broke down. It should have. It should have broken down a long time ago. Outrageous. Now, here's what Angela said. She hid the truth for years. She said, I knew the day had to come sometime to tell my daughter, but I wrapped it away in cotton wool, thinking not this year, not next year, maybe the year after. I was frightened I'd lose all three of my daughters. Last month, her oldest friend finally snapped and insisted Sally had a right to know who her real father was. So Angela sat her youngest daughter down for a serious chat. My heart was bursting out of my chest. I thought that this was the moment in time that I was going to lose her. I was sobbing when I told her that a long time ago I'd had an affair, that I'd gotten pregnant, and that she was the best mistake that I'd ever made. Sally took it well. At first, now she's beginning to show she is quite disturbed by the news. So Angela decided to tell her ex-husband, who reacted calmly, and her old lover, who agreed to see Sally when she's ready. I'm relieved, but my relief has hurt a lot of people, Angela says, her voice catching, as she recalls how her eldest daughter branded her a slut, which she is. But my main concern is for my children. I hope they're strong enough and wise enough to know that people make mistakes, but they don't have to pay for it the rest of their lives. I don't agree with that, frankly. I do think that they pay for it for the rest of their lives. I do believe that. Now, I've told all the boys out there to, get a cotton swab, do what you have to do, get a DNA sample. I think some hair will do, but whoever does the DNA test can tell you what kind of a sample you need. I don't know what you do because I've never had to do this before, but, a lock of your kid's hair or swab the inside of his mouth or whatever it is you have to do. There's some way you gather DNA materials. And then they get sent off to the lab for comparison with yours. And then we find out if you're really the father. I'd love to have some real-life scenarios unfold on the air. That would be wonderful. But just to whet your appetite for this, and I see all the phone lines are ringing right now, but a lot of you people are not going to get on the air, because here is what I'm doing right now. I'm going to talk to women this hour. You are with a husband or a boyfriend, and you have at least one child. He doesn't know who the real father is. He thinks it's him. But you know who the real father is. Maybe you've kept it to yourself. Maybe you've told it to your best friend. Maybe your mother knows. Life goes on with your husband or your boyfriend thinking he's a dad. But the reality is you got this little time bomb. It could go off at any moment. So that's my deal here. I want to talk to women who have kids, and they got a husband or a steady boyfriend or a live-in or whatever, and he thinks he's the father of your kid or your kids. Reality is, maybe he is, maybe he isn't, or maybe you know for sure he's not. Now, I'm doing this for the benefit of the boys out there who very confidently walk around going, see my boy over here? This is my son. I want to put a little dose of reality in some of these boys. So if you have a child and you have an inkling that he might not be or she may not be the child of your husband or boyfriend, call us now and tell us your story.
Tom Leykis.
Come on.
1-800-5800-TOM. 1-800-5800-866.
How are you today?
Do you care?
Yes, I do, because I don't want you to rip me a new one because I don't agree with you on what you say.
The Tom Leykis Show. Leykis on Hot Talk 1080 KOTK.
The Tom Leykis Show. At 1-800-5800-TOM. That's our telephone number. All right, we've hung up on all the dudes calling in, all the people who want to tell us stories of a friend of a friend of a friend of a friend. No, it's you. There. You have a kid. You're not sure that your boyfriend or husband is the father. You're not sure. All right? And by the way, you know what I'll also do this hour? I will also talk to guys who are not sure their kid is theirs. So if you're not sure that your kid is yours, you can certainly call us. 1-800-5800-TOM is our telephone number. We freed up the phone lines only for people in this position. So if you dial at this moment, you'll get in. But by the time I'm done speaking this sentence, who knows, all the lines can be taken. So I would dial 1-800-5800-TOM right now, at this moment, as I speak. Okay. Lynn on the Tom Leykis Show. Hello.
Hi, Tom.
Hi, Lynn.
How are you?
Do you care, Lynn?
Yes, I do.
I'm doing great.
Good. I wanted to tell you that I kind of have a 18-month-old son. I did place him in an open adoption. My boyfriend we've been together 3 years, and I was on birth control, and I was raped 2 weeks before I found out I was pregnant.
Yikes.
So...
And you never told him?
No, I did tell him. We've talked about it. But he says that blood doesn't matter, that he was the one there throughout the whole pregnancy. In his mind, he is the father. But I'm still concerned, I still don't have a DNA test because he was placed in an open adoption.
No, it doesn't really matter if you put him up for adoption.
With an open adoption, the whole point of an open adoption is medical records.
Right.
So it would be helpful.
Yeah, but is your rapist going to give up his medical records?
Well, I talked to his mother, actually.
The rapist's mother? How do you know the rapist's mother?
Because I had known the guy.
Was it a date rape or...
Yes.
It was a date rape, okay.
And I had known his mother, and this guy was just total... And I know that this guy has mental disorders.
Mm-hmm.
And
did you know that when you were dating him?
I knew that for a while.
But you continued dating him?
I was with my boyfriend. He was just a friend.
Oh, okay. I thought you had... Because when you call it a date rape, that assumes you were on a date.
Okay, no. He was a friend, and we had gone to a party.
Oh, well, that's not date rape. That's different.
Okay. Okay, I was raped by a friend.
Oh, my God. Well, who needs friends like that?
Not me.
Wow.
So,
did he go to prison, by the way?
Huh? Yes, he did.
He did. Good. That's where he belongs.
Yes.
All right.
I wouldn't have anything but that.
Yes.
I had gone and talked to his mother to find out exactly what the medical issues were.
Mm-hmm.
And so it concerns me still. But my boyfriend says that, it doesn't matter. But it does kind of matter to me.
Mm-hmm.
And so...
and it matters to you why?
It matters to me why, because my son needs to know.
Yeah, but the information is you could give the medical records of your boyfriend or your rapist, since you have access to both.
And they do have both.
All right.
Which one do they go by? You know what I mean? Which one do they go by?
Well, can't they forcibly get your rapist to give a DNA sample?
Probably. But, see, my boyfriend hasn't even taken a DNA sample.
Why not?
He says it doesn't matter to him.
But it matters to you.
Mm-hmm.
Well, why don't you tell him it matters to you and then get the test?
The other thing is, with his adoptive parents, he lives in San Diego, and his adoptive parents live in San Diego.
Right.
And my boyfriend and I live together, and we've talked to the adoptive parents several times about getting the DNA test done, but we've never gotten together to get it done.
But why don't you just make an appointment and get it done? If you care. You know what? I personally, I want to wash my hands of the whole situation. But if you really care, then do something about it.
Yeah.
Get in the car, get on the 405, and head down to San Diego.
Yes, I shall do that. Probably, I'll call them and find out what's going on. And
by the way, how does your boyfriend handle this whole thing?
He handles it pretty well. I was on birth control. I was on the depot shot. Because I knew I wasn't responsible enough to take the pill every day and remember to take the pill every day.
Mm-hmm.
So I was on the depot shot, and I'm allergic to condoms, both the sheepskin and the latex.
Mm-hmm.
So I took it upon myself to get on birth control because I do want a baby, but I don't want one right now.
Mm-hmm.
And that's why I chose adoption. And an earlier comment that you made, it was that nobody wants a child showing up on your front step if you place them first.
No, I said that I don't want that.
Okay.
Some people do like it, but I'm not one of them.
Okay.
And I would say that most men who are just out to get laid are not looking forward to the idea of somebody coming to their front door.
Probably not, if they're just looking to get laid.
Well, that's what men are mostly looking for.
Yeah, true. Very true.
So, are there exceptions to that rule? Of course. There are guys who go, oh, my God, my life has been so empty, and now my 16-year-old son that I never knew is showing up at my front door. There are people like that.
Yeah.
Of course, they all appear on Oprah Winfrey, giving you the idea that there's many more than there are. Most guys, that's their worst nightmare. Guys all have this time bomb ticking out there. Any one of us could have that happen to us.
Yep.
And believe me, we know it, and we don't like it.
Nope.
All right. Well, Lynn, I'm out of time. But I thank you for the call. It's 1-800-5800-TOM. If you have doubts about whether one of your kids is really yours.
The Tom Leykis Show. Tom Leykis, only on Hot. This is the Tom Leykis Show.
From Los Angeles at 1-800-5800-TOM. Thank you for tuning in. All right. Ladies, is that kid of yours the son or daughter of your husband or boyfriend? Or you're not sure? You're the one we want to talk to at 1-800-5800-TOM. Guys, you ever look into that kid's eyes and go, this kid does not look like me? Have you got doubts? We want to hear from you, too. 1-800-5800-866. Robert on the Tom Leykis Show. Hello.
Hey, Tom.
Robert.
Hey, about 9 months ago, my girlfriend had our son, or supposedly my son. Problem is that I had testicular cancer, and the doctors told me that it's a possibility that I might not ever be able to have kids. Since then, I've gotten the sperm test, and they say it's 0. But I hadn't gotten one before.
Robert, are you aware that if you don't disprove your parenthood the next 3 months, you'll be sentenced to a lifetime of paying some other guy's child support?
In the next 3 months?
Yep, you get 1 year.
Really?
Yeah, 1 year. Are you in California?
He was born in California. Now I'm in Nevada.
All right. Well, they give you anywhere between 1 and 2 years, depending on what state you're in. But generally, it's 1 year. Yeah. Of course, a woman could come back on a kid's 18th birthday and say you owe 18 years of back child support for the kid you never knew you had. But the man is only given a year to prove he's not the father.
Really?
Yeah. So you better get working.
I didn't realize that.
And what are you waiting for?
Right now, I don't have the money to go out and get the test. It's what, about $400?
I don't know. Do you have money to pay child support for a child that isn't yours? It's going to be a lot more than $400.
Right now, I'm still with her, basically for the reason that I don't want to have to pay child support. So
yeah, but
happy for now.
But the thing is, if the kid isn't yours, you don't have to be with her or pay child support.
Right. I didn't realize that I was kind of on a time limit there. I thought.
By the way, you're supporting that kid right now, so you're paying child support.
Right. Huh.
What you're not doing is giving her a blank check to spend money on purses and shoes and things.
Exactly. At least I have a little bit of control over where the money goes. But
well, what you have to do is pal, borrow it.
What's that?
If you don't think you were the father, borrow $400. Do what you have to do. Call your parents. Call neighbors. Call friends. Get the money.
Yeah, well, now that I know
it's a lot
cheaper. I'll definitely get out there. And
of course there's a time limit. Well, what are you going to do? Wait till the kid's 5 or 7 or 10? What are you going to do?
Yeah.
What is the point of waiting?
Yeah, you're absolutely right, Tom.
How would you feel you found out in 3 years that you're not the father and that you have to pay for another 15? While some other guy gets off the hook. The guy who was banging your chick while you were dealing with cancer.
Cancer was a few years before, but still.
Uh-huh. Okay, fine. The guy who was banging your chick while you had no sperm count.
Mm-hmm. Right on. Well, you're right then. Like I said, I didn't realize there was a time limit, but I'm glad you informed me of that.
Yeah.
Nobody had ever told me that before.
Do whatever you have to do. If it's foreign, whatever it is. Find out what it is. Get it done. Call your doctor. Clearly, if you've been through cancer, you've got a doctor. Find out how this is done and go get it done.
All right, I will.
All right, good luck.
All right, thank you.
Let us know what you find out.
I will.
Okay, good luck. 1-800-5800-TOM is our telephone number. Christopher on the Tom Leykis Show. Hello.
Hey, Tom.
Christopher.
Well, a somewhat friend of mine introduced me to her sister. All good and great. I dated her sister for a bit. Well, about a month into that, I ended up getting...
Wait. I don't understand. I think we got a little gender bender going on here. He introduced you to whose sister?
No, okay, this girl introduced me to her sister. I'm dating her sister.
Okay, a girl introduced you to her own sister.
Yeah.
So you started dating her sister.
Yeah. She was all good and great. Well, one night I ended up getting together with this girl. Meanwhile, my brother was dating her. Because I introduced her to my brother. And,
so you and your brother were dating the same girl?
Well, two sisters.
Oh, you were dating one sister and he was dating the other?
Yeah, and then we ended up switching one night.
You switched one night?
Well, yeah, I kind of made up that decision, but, anyway.
Everybody, I want you to listen to this because this is why I tell you not to do stuff like this. Go ahead.
I know. So, she says, it's my brother's. And I help her move out because her old man kicked her out of the house and all. And 5 years later, she says it's mine. Well, he's 14 years old now. And I've been supporting him for that time, and could be my brother still. Who knows?
Well, not only that, I don't know anything about DNA testing, but don't you and your brother have the same DNA?
Probably pretty close. We look a lot alike.
Well, so unless your mom was up to no good. And who knows? But, so, I mean, it might be a little harder to prove you're not the father.
That's the thing. What do you do?
You look like you're screwed.
Yeah. There you go. So, double up. She said you couldn't get pregnant, too, so.
They all say that.
Lesson learned.
Well, a little late.
Yeah.
Hi, Christopher.
Okay, man.
Good luck. Thanks a lot for the call. 1-800-5800-TOM. I'm taking this very seriously.
Okay.
It's the Tom Leykis Show.
Leykis on Hot Talk 10.
Leykis Show. 1-800-5800-TOM is their telephone number. It's Shannon. Hello.
Hi.
Hi.
I just have a couple comments. I don't have any kids, but I don't know where all these stupid people are coming from. Like, what kind of man doesn't know if the kid belongs to him and is willing to stay with the chick because he wants to get out of child support? Doesn't he realize he's paying for the kid anyway? Like, where are all these stupid idiots coming from?
Well, I can only say this much, and I'm certainly not defending what he did. I think that he's crazy to let that go. But I think guys see a big difference between supporting a child when he's living in the home with you and mailing what is, in essence, a blank check.
That the woman's going to do whatever she wants with it.
Right, and there's no proof the money went to the kid, and there's no. Guys would rather be there to spend the money personally than to mail the money so that your ex-girlfriend can then spend the money on shoes to go out and find another sucker to knock her up the next time.
Right, and of course then the kids go without stuff and everything else because the woman spends it on herself and so on. I know all that, but I'm just thinking these women that are having all these kids by multiple men or whatever and trying to get child support, that's a bunch of crap. And these men that are paying it and not even knowing is, I can't understand. And I do not agree with a woman having a child and 18 years later or 10 years later coming back and demanding child support. Where the hell were you 10 years ago?
Well, I think society could reduce the number of unwanted children, reduce the number of abortions, reduce the number of pregnancies, and reduce the amount of heartache by simply requiring DNA testing for every live birth in America. And here's why. Because let's say, I don't know, are you married, Shannon?
No.
Okay. Let's say your boyfriend or whoever, let's say you wanted to have a baby, okay?
Right.
So you get pregnant, you have the baby, and then your boyfriend says to you, I want to get a DNA test.
Uh-huh.
You'd punch him in the face.
Yeah, I would, actually, because I'm not that type of girl. Like, you know what I mean? And that's another that's another whole topic, but I would be royally pissed off if he demanded. I mean, he wouldn't have to.
Well, that's why we need a law so that the boyfriend doesn't have to take responsibility. It's like, well, honey, it's not me, it's the state.
Well, it's kind of like years ago when my parents got married, you were required to have a blood test to see if you were compatible to even have a child together.
You were also required to have a blood test to see if you had syphilis.
Right, okay, yeah. But yeah, no, I totally agree with that. I just think that, I don't know, it's crap. I listen to these guys on the air, like the guy that was, like, around 4:30, he was on talking about giving up college because his girlfriend is 18, wants to get pregnant, and he's, I'm not sure what I'm doing. Like, what an idiot. Mm-hmm. You have a scholarship, you can go to school, but instead you're going to stay with a girl and knock her up. Are you nuts? Most men are trying not, and if they do, they're running away. So, I don't know. I listen to these people and I'm thinking, I can't understand. The last guy that was on saying, well, I'm staying with her because I don't want to pay child support. So what, you can stay with her for the next 18 years?
Yeah.
You're going to spend money anyway, you idiot. Wake up. Go get the test now. You got 3 months. I would have been out like the next day if I knew there was any doubt at all.
Absolutely.
And you know what? If you're in a relationship where you think there's doubt, why are you getting her pregnant?
By the way, if you're living there, you can get the DNA sample without the woman ever knowing. You just take little Junior out to the park and then bring a Q-tip with you,
Yeah, or you just pick up a glass she's had in her mouth, or anything you want to know about her.
Bring a pair of scissors. Come on.
I can't afford it. Grace, call Jenny Jones or call a talk show. They'll do it for you.
Well, yeah, but then you have to go on the show, which you don't want to have to do.
Yeah, I suppose.
But you could get that DNA test done, and she would never know. And I'm recommending to all the boys out there, it's the best, if it's $400, I don't know how much it is, the best money you ever spend.
Yeah.
Go out, get the test, because one of two things will happen. You'll either find out that you are with the most lovable, trustworthy individual who wanted to have your baby, or that she's an unforgivable slut, and then you get off the hook for having to pay up.
And all of that, it's all of them that are giving all of us the bad name.
That's right. Well, as I told you, in the United States, 30% of all births, we don't know who the father is.
Really?
We think it's one person. It's 30%.
Holy Christ.
30.
Oh, my God. That's ridiculous. That's well, there's something wrong with society now that this is, this is even happening as much as it is I can't even fathom that.
Well, because we've got a society where people go,
it's all about the child. It doesn't really matter who the father is. The child, it's all about the best interest of the children. And if that means we have to take money from an innocent guy who didn't impregnate anybody and give it to a child, it's all about the child.
Well, No, because a child growing up without a father and not knowing who their dad is, and the mother, I've seen them on the talk shows where they've tested 7 men and the woman still doesn't know. How can you not know?
Mm-hmm.
7 men have been tested.
Yep.
And none of them are the father. I mean, how... I can't... Do you know what you're doing to your child? I mean, you're bringing a child into the world, another living being who needs your support, and even if you and the father don't get along.
You know what? When people have kids, they only think about themselves and their own fulfillment. You know that.
Well, yeah, I must be the exception.
Well, you don't have any kids.
No, and I'm 28, and I could have had kids the last 8 years. I could have had one a year.
That's true. Thank you, Shannon. 1-800-5800-TOM. It's Joy on the Tom Leykis Show. Hello.
Hello?
Yeah.
How you doing?
Great.
Well, first off, I agree with all the craziness about these women getting pregnant. I can't even imagine thinking about living like that. But I did have a hypothetical question for you. If you got into a situation where you got a woman pregnant and she would not have an abortion, what would you do?
Oh, I'd be stuck.
So you would.
I would try the Hail Mary, and if that didn't work, then I'd be stuck having to pay. But I would not get involved in the child's life or anything.
See, that's what I was meaning.
No.
Would you get involved in his life?
No, because I don't want to be involved in her life.
Gotcha. Oh, that would be a terrible situation. That's kind of hard to.
You know, I'd mail my check if I were required to do so, and I had hardcore evidence that I was the parent.
You wouldn't feel guilty at all about that?
Nope. No, because I didn't do anything.
Yeah. Well, I mean, if you were actually the father.
If I was we wouldn't know that. But by the way, you know, she went ahead and had a kid. She would be doing it against my will, and she would know it. The whole world knows that I have avoided having children all these years because I like my career. I like my life.
Well, I think men, they have to know what type of women that they are. I mean, I don't know. I think it's kind of obvious when you're with someone that's a loony enough that really...
No, it's not. So many chicks are loony. You know what? And the best sex comes from loony chicks.
Well, I can't even imagine thinking like that. I mean, I've been avoiding that my entire life, have something like that happen. So to imagine trying to want that situation...
The reason we put up with loony chicks is because they're the best in bed. Otherwise, no man would be with a loony chick.
Yeah, that has to be it. Well, I figured it was just, beer goggles or something. Or whatever, you're drunk or they're easy, or I don't know.
No, that explains a one-night stand, but how about guys who date a loony chick for 6 months?
Yeah, exactly. I mean...
Well, I'm telling you why. Because it's the best sex they ever had.
Because they're just wild and crazy.
You should know that, by the way. Loony chicks are better than you are in bed.
Okay.
Trust me.
Well, I'll take your word for it.
Because they'll do anything, anywhere, anytime.
Yeah, I guess so.
You know who the best lay of the 20th century was?
Who's that?
Of the 20th century now. That Lorena Bobbitt.
I heard you talking about her the other night, actually.
Well, it's true. I mean, she caught his Johnson off, right, while he was sleeping. Whacked it off. He's got a bloody stump there. Yeah. She then gets in the car and drives out there and tosses it alongside a freeway somewhere.
That's freaky.
They rescue it, they sew it back on, and it kind of works, maybe. And after that, he gets candy and flowers, and he wants her back. That's the best lay any man ever had.
Oh, I don't know. Maybe he just...
That's sex, man. Himself. If you can whack off my Peter, and I still want you back...
Oh,
that's the best.
Well, I think he might be a little bit loony.
Well, I think they're both a little bit loony.
Tom Leykis. Woof. Tom Leykis. Woof. 800-5800. Tom.
Oh, the Tom Leykis Show. Want to speak to Tom?
It's the Tom Leykis Show. Tom.
The Tom Leykis Show. Lynn. Hello.
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 How are you?
Do you care, Lynn?
Yes, I care.
I'm doing great.
Good. So, I actually had an ex-husband who had me, he wanted 2 paternity tests done on both of our kids.
Uh-huh.
And we were married for probably about a year and a half. Had the first kid before we got married. Child was then about So 3 years old, I had my second. When he was 7 months old, I decided to get a divorce. He thought it was because I was screwing somebody else. He decided he didn't think the kids were his anymore, and he wanted a paternity test.
Uh-huh.
And the kids ended up being his. But one reason that I was calling was just to kind of let these guys know that if you do get the paternity test, you get the money back if the child is not yours. And a paternity test is usually anywhere from $450 to $500.
Oh, very good.
Yeah. So, but if the child is not theirs, they get their money back.
That's good.
Unfortunately,
that's like a double bonus.
Exactly. There's also tons of fathers groups out there who are really trying to help the men out there and not the women, which is wonderful. And they actually will pay for the paternity test for you. So I suggest for all the male listeners out there who don't have the $450 to get on the internet and see what they can do, because there's tons of people out there that are willing to help.
Excellent. Thank you for that information, Lynn. Appreciate it. Our email address is my name. It's tom@blowmeuptom.com. Have you got that? tom@blowmeuptom.com, or you can call our comment line. The number is area code 310-84.